They tell you blood is thicker than water, but they do not tell you that blood can drown you. My brother wanted his share, so I gave him the truth instead, and the truth put him behind bars. But here is the question that keeps me awake at night. Was I saving my family, or was I just the sister who finally fought back? My name is Riley, and this is my story. I am the youngest of 3 children. My father, Arthur, built a small trucking company from nothing but a single diesel truck and a prayer. He called it Archer Logistics, after our last name. For 30 years, he drove through blizzards, missed birthdays, and broke his back so that one day, his children could walk into an office and sign their names on something that mattered. My older sister, Mia, was the smart one. She went to college for finance, then came straight home to run the books. I was the creative one, so I handled the company's marketing and the small charity foundation we ran for truckers' families. And then there was my brother, Derek. Derek was the oldest, the golden boy, the one my father put behind the wheel of a rig when he was barely 18, then later gave a corner office and a title that meant something: Vice President of Operations. Derek had a smile like summer sunshine, the kind that made you forget he ever did anything wrong. He was charming, loud, and everyone in our small town of Lancaster, Virginia, loved him. But I knew a secret. I had always known it, even as a little girl. Derek had a shadow, and that shadow was hungry. Growing up, Derek was the kind of brother who would break your toy and then convince you that you had broken it yourself. He had a gift for twisting the truth. When we were kids, he once stole $20 from our mother's purse. When she asked about it, he pointed at me. I was only 7 years old. I did not even know what $20 looked like. But Derek cried so convincingly that my mother believed him. I was sent to my room without dinner. Derek bought candy with the money and ate it in front of me the next day, smiling that golden smile. That was my first lesson about my brother. He did not just want things, he wanted you to watch him take them. So when the story of the family business began to unravel, I should not have been surprised. But I was. Because even though I knew Derek was selfish, I never thought he would steal from our father. Our father, who worked 16-hour days and came home with diesel fuel under his fingernails. Our father, who sent Derek to the best schools and bought him his first car. Our father, who loved Derek more than anything in the world. That is the thing about family. You want to believe that blood is thicker than water. You want to believe that love is a shield, but love is not a shield. Sometimes, love is just a reason to look the other way. The story begins on a Tuesday. A gray, miserable Tuesday in October when the leaves were falling off the trees like broken promises. I was in my tiny office at the back of the Archer Logistics headquarters, a low red brick building that smelled of coffee and diesel fuel. I was working on a poster for our annual charity drive, Wheels of Hope, when my father walked in. He looked tired, not just old tired, but soul tired. His shoulders, which had once carried the weight of the world, were slumped. "Riley," he said, sitting down across from me. "Derek is coming in for a meeting at 3. He says he has a formal request." I put my pen down. The charity poster could wait. My father never used the word formal. He was a man of handshakes and verbal agreements. Formal meant lawyers. Formal meant trouble. "A request for what?" I asked. My father rubbed his eyes. He had dark circles under them, the kind that come from lying awake at night. "He wants his share of the business. He wants me to liquidate a portion of the assets and give him cash. Or he wants me to sign over the entire Virginia shipping route to him exclusively. He says it is his birthright." My blood went cold. It is a strange thing, that phrase, birthright. It sounds so biblical, so important. But all it really means is what I think I deserve without earning it. I looked at my father and I saw fear. Arthur Archer was not a man who feared easily. He had faced down highway bandits, bankruptcies, and a cancer scare 10 years ago. But he was afraid of his own son. "Dad, you cannot just give him the Virginia route," I said, keeping my voice low. "That is 40% of our annual revenue. If we lose that, we cannot pay our drivers. You know that. We have over 80 families depending on those paychecks." He nodded slowly. "I know. That is why I want you in the meeting. And Mia, I want witnesses." I reached across the desk and took his hand. His skin was rough, calloused from decades of gripping steering wheels and shaking hands with mechanics. "We will get through this," I said. "Together." He smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. "I hope so, Riley. I really hope so." The clock on the wall ticked like a time bomb. I spent the next few hours trying to focus on work, but my mind kept wandering. I thought about all the times Derek had been given special treatment. When he crashed the family car at 16, our father paid for the repairs and did not even raise his voice. When he flunked out of community college, our father gave him a manager job anyway. When he married Andrea after knowing her for only 3 months, our father paid for the entire wedding, $20,000, without a single complaint. Derek had never faced a consequence in his entire life. And now he was asking for his share. Not asking, demanding. At 3 o'clock sharp, Derek strolled into the conference room. He was wearing a suit that cost more than my first car. The suit was charcoal gray, with a silk tie and shiny leather shoes that squeaked on the floor. His hair was perfectly combed, and his smile was perfectly wide. Mia was already there, her laptop open, her fingers poised over the keyboard like a pianist about to play a funeral march. I sat next to my father. Derek took the head of the table, even though it was not his place. That was the first sign. He did not sit at the table. He sat at the throne. "Dad," Derek began, spreading his hands on the polished wood. "I love this family, you know that, but I have a wife and 2 kids now. I need financial independence. I am not asking for the whole company, just what is fair, my share." My father's voice was quiet. "Derek, the business is not a pie you can just slice up. It is a living thing. It has drivers who have been with us for 20 years. It has debts. It has payroll due on Friday. What do you propose?" Derek leaned back in his chair. He put his feet up on the table, which was something our father would have never allowed from anyone else. "I want the Virginia route. I will run it as my own entity. I will pay the company a small royalty, of course. Or you give me $2 million in cash and I walk away from operations entirely. I will just be a silent partner." $2 million. The number hung in the air like a guillotine blade. I looked at Mia. Her face was stone, but her eyes were sharp. She typed something on her laptop. Then she looked up, and I saw a flicker of something I had never seen in her before. Suspicion. Mia cleared her throat. "Derek, based on our current valuation, your share of the business, if we sold everything today, would be closer to $800,000. Not $2 million. Where did you get that number?" Derek's smile flickered, just for a second. It was like watching a light bulb dim and then brighten again. Then it was back, brighter than ever. "Mia, you are looking at the public books. I am talking about the real value, the contracts we have under the table, the side deals." Silence. It was the kind of silence that falls over a forest right before a wildfire. My father straightened up. His back, which had been bent with worry, suddenly became straight and strong. "What side deals? Derek, what are you talking about?" I saw Derek realize his mistake. He had said too much. He was so used to being the charming prince that he forgot sometimes that princes can be dethroned. He laughed, a fake, hollow sound that echoed off the walls. "I am just saying, Dad, the company is worth more than what is on paper. We both know that. I am just asking for my due." My father stood up. He did not shout. He never shouted. But his voice had a weight to it that made everyone in the room hold their breath. "There are no side deals in this company. There are no contracts under the table. I built this business on honesty, and I will not have you implying otherwise. The meeting is over." Derek stood up too. For a moment the 2 men faced each other. They looked so alike. Same height, same build, same stubborn chin. But where my father's eyes were clear and sad, Derek's eyes were dark and angry. "This is not over, Dad, not even close." He walked out of the room without another word. The door slammed behind him. My father sat back down, and suddenly he looked old again, older than I had ever seen him. That night I could not sleep. I lay in my childhood bed, in the house my parents still lived in, staring at the ceiling. The conversation replayed in my mind like a broken record. Side deals, under the table. Those words did not belong in our family. My father had a sign on his desk that said, "The load is only as heavy as the lie you carry." Derek had just admitted to carrying a lie. A big one. I got up at 2 in the morning and called Mia. She answered on the first ring. "You heard it too, right?" I whispered. "He slipped," Mia said. Her voice was cold and precise, like a surgeon describing an incision. "Derek never slips. Which means whatever he is hiding is big enough that he could not keep the lid on it anymore. Riley, I have been looking at the fuel accounts for the last 6 months. There are discrepancies. fuel purchases that do not match the mileage logs. I thought it was a clerical error. Now I am not so sure. My heart started to pound so hard I could feel it in my throat. What are you saying? I am saying, Mia paused, and I heard her take a deep breath, that I think Derek has been stealing from us. And now he wants his share so that when the truth comes out, he has a pile of cash to run with. The next morning, I did not go to the office. I told my father I was sick, which was not a lie. I felt sick. My stomach was in knots and my hands were shaking. I drove to the Archer Logistics main truck depot, a sprawling lot on the edge of town where our rigs parked overnight. I wanted to talk to the drivers, not the managers, not the dispatchers, the drivers, the men and women who actually put rubber to the road. They were the ones who saw everything. They were the ones who knew the truth. I found an old-timer named Gus. Gus had been with my father since the first truck. He was 72 years old, with a white beard and a belly that stuck out over his belt. He had driven every route, seen every season, and forgotten more about trucking than most people ever learn. He was sitting in the break room, drinking coffee from a thermos that had a dent in the side shaped like a fist. That dent came from a fight with a road rage driver 10 years ago. Gus won the fight. "Gus," I said, sitting down across from him, "can I ask you something strange?" He looked at me with kind, tired eyes. His hands were gnarled from arthritis, but they were still strong. "Shoot, Riley, you know I have known you since you were in diapers. You can ask me anything." I took a deep breath. "Have you noticed any changes in the last year? With the loads? With the paperwork? With anything that feels off?" Gus put his coffee down. He looked around the break room to make sure no one else was listening. There were a few other drivers at the far end of the room, but they were watching television. Gus leaned in close, his voice dropped to a whisper. "You did not hear this from me, sweetheart, but your brother has been running what we call ghost loads." Ghost loads? I had never heard the term before. But even as I said it, a chill ran down my spine. "Yeah, it works like this. He books a shipment, say, from Richmond to Norfolk. The company pays for the fuel, pays for the driver, pays for the insurance, pays for everything. But the shipment does not exist. It is just paper. Derek finds a fake customer, creates a fake invoice, and the money goes into a separate account. Then he writes off the fuel as operational loss. I have seen it before at my old job. It is embezzlement, plain and simple, and it is stealing from every single person in this building." The room spun. I gripped the edge of the table to keep myself steady. "How long has this been going on?" Gus shrugged. "At least 18 months. Maybe longer. Some of the younger drivers will not say anything because Derek threatened their jobs. He told them if they talked, they would be fired and blacklisted from every trucking company in the state. Me, I am too old to be scared. I have got a pension and a wife who loves me. But I stayed quiet because I did not want to break your father's heart. That man is like a brother to me. But if you are asking, Riley, that means you already know something is wrong. And if you are going to do something about it, I will stand right behind you. So will most of the other drivers. We just needed someone to lead." I drove home in a daze. 18 months. Derek had been siphoning money from our own family for a year and a half. He had been using fake shipments, fake customers, fake everything. He had threatened drivers who knew the truth. He had built a whole secret operation inside our father's company. And now, he had the audacity to walk into our father's office and ask for $2 million. He was not asking for his share. He was trying to legitimize his theft. He wanted to turn his crime into a legal payout. When I got home, I found my mother, Helen, in the kitchen. She was making chicken soup, the same soup she made whenever anyone in the family was hurting. The kitchen smelled like onions and celery and love. She did not even look up when I walked in. She just said, "Your father told me about the meeting. He is in the garage. He has not come out in 3 hours." I found my father sitting on an old wooden crate in the garage, staring at the first truck he ever bought. It was a rusted old Peterbilt, now just a relic covered in dust. The paint was peeling, the tires were flat, and the windshield was cracked. But to my father, it was a monument. That truck had carried him through his darkest days. He was crying. Not sobbing, just tears running silently down his weathered cheeks. "Dad," I said, kneeling in front of him, "I know what Derek did, the ghost loads, the fake invoices, the threats. I know." He looked at me, and for a moment he looked like a little boy who had just lost his dog. "You knew?" "I just found out. From Gus. Mia suspected something with the fuel accounts, but Gus confirmed it. The drivers have known for months. They were too scared to say anything because Derek threatened them. My father wiped his face with the back of his hand. He was my son, my firstborn. I taught him how to shift gears when he was 12 years old. I trusted him with everything, and he treated this company like an ATM. He treated our drivers like pawns. What do we do? I asked. My voice was shaking, but I did not care. Do we call the police? Do we confront him? Do we fire him? My father stood up. He was slow, and for a moment I thought he might fall. But he grabbed the side of the truck and pulled himself upright. When he was standing tall, he looked like the giant I remembered from my childhood. The man who could fix anything. The man who never gave up. We do what I should have done the first time he lied about breaking that neighbor's window when he was 10, my father said. We expose him, but we do it smart. We do it legal. And we do it in a way that he can never hurt this family again. We need evidence. Hard evidence. Not just driver testimony. We need bank records, email trails, and a paper chain that leads directly to Derek's secret account. That was the moment my heart changed. I had always loved my brother. Even when he was mean, even when he was selfish, even when he pointed his finger at me for things I did not do, I loved him because he was family. But love does not mean letting someone burn your house down while you hold the door open for them. Love means protecting what remains. Love means standing up even when it hurts. The next few weeks were a blur of secret meetings and hidden documents. Mia, my father, and I formed a plan. We could not simply accuse Derek without proof. He was too slippery. He would delete files, threaten witnesses, or worse, turn the story around and make us look like the villains. Have you ever met a charming liar? They are the most dangerous people on earth because they believe their own lies. Derek genuinely thought he deserved that money. He thought the ghost loads were a smart business strategy. He thought he was the victim of a stingy father and jealous sisters. In his mind, he was the hero of this story. So we decided to give him exactly what he wanted. Sort of. My father called another meeting. This time, it was just him and Derek. No Mia, no me. My father told Derek that he had thought about it, and he agreed to sell him the Virginia route. But he needed one thing first. A full, independent audit of the route's finances for the past 2 years. For tax purposes, my father said. Once the audit is clean, the route is yours. I will sign it over for $1. Derek hesitated. I was watching through the one-way mirror in the conference room, a mirror we had installed years ago for security training. I saw his face twitch. It was a tiny movement, just a flicker of his left eye, but I knew what it meant. He was scared. He knew an audit would uncover the ghost loads, but he also knew that refusing an audit would look suspicious. So he did what all narcissists do. He assumed he could fool the auditor. Fine, Derek said, flashing that golden smile, but I get to choose the auditor. My father nodded. Of course. Derek chose a small, local accounting firm run by a man named Barry Finch. Barry was a family friend, a quiet man who had done Derek's personal taxes for years. He was soft-spoken and wore glasses that were always slipping down his nose. What Derek did not know was that Barry Finch had a daughter who worked as a truck driver for Archer Logistics. And that daughter had been paid late 3 times in the past year because of Derek's operational losses. Her name was Jenny. She was a single mother of 2, and those late paychecks had nearly cost her apartment. Barry Finch was not loyal to Derek. He was loyal to the truth and to his daughter. Mia called Barry the night after Derek chose him. She explained everything. The ghost loads, the fake invoices, the threatened drivers. Barry listened without saying much. At the end of the call, he said 4 words, "I will find it." The audit took 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, I barely slept. I was a ghost in my own home, walking the hallways at 3 in the morning, staring out windows, jumping at every phone ring. I watched Derek strut around the office like he had already won. He ordered a new desk for his future office. He told his wife they were going to buy a beach house in the Outer Banks. He started talking about buying a boat, a 40-foot yacht he wanted to name the Golden Boy. He even had the audacity to pat me on the head one morning, like I was a little dog, and say, "Do not worry, little sister. When I run the Virginia route, I will give you a job. You can make coffee." I smiled at him. I smiled and said, "That would be great, Derek." And inside, I was building a fortress of rage. Every condescending word, every fake smile, every lie he had ever told, I stacked them like bricks. By the end of those 2 weeks, my fortress was impenetrable. Mia and I worked every night until midnight, gathering our own evidence. We accessed the company server and found deleted files. We traced email addresses to fake domains. We found a secret bank account at a credit union 2 towns over, opened under a fake business name. The account had over $1 million in it. Derek had been siphoning money in amounts small enough to avoid suspicion, usually between $5,000 and $10,000 a month. But over 18 months, it added up. It always adds up. The night before the audit results were to be presented, my father called a family meeting at the house. It was just the 3 of us. Me, Mia, and him, we sat in the living room. The fireplace was lit, even though it was not that cold outside. My mother was upstairs, asleep. We had decided not to tell her everything until we had to. She had a weak heart, and we did not want to hurt her. My father spoke first. Tomorrow, everything changes. Derek is going to be confronted with the truth. He is going to be angry. He is going to lie. He is going to try to blame one of you or me or someone else. Do not let him. Stay calm, stay focused. And remember, we are doing this because we love him. Real love does not let someone destroy themselves. Mia nodded. Her face was pale, but her jaw was set. I have printed everything. Every bank statement, every fake invoice, every email. There are over 300 pages of evidence. Bari will present the audit findings, and then I will present the rest. He will have no way out. I looked at my father. Are you ready for this? Because once we do this, there is no going back. Derek will never forgive us. My father reached out and took my hand. His hand was warm and steady. Riley, I have spent 30 years building something for my children. I will not let one child destroy it for the other 2. If Derek cannot forgive us for holding him accountable, then he never really loved us. He loved what we could give him. The day of the audit results arrived. It was a Friday, which felt appropriate. Fridays are for endings. The entire family gathered in the conference room. My father, my mother, Mia, Derek, his wife Andrea, and me. Bari Finch sat at the end of the table with a thick red folder. He looked like a man carrying a bomb. Behind him, against the wall, stood 2 police officers. My father had called them ahead of time. They were there in case Derek tried to run or destroy evidence. Thank you all for coming, Bari said in his soft voice. He pushed his glasses up on his nose. I have completed the audit of the Virginia route for the period of January 2 years ago to October of this year. I have found several discrepancies. Derek leaned forward, his smile still in place. Probably just clerical errors, Bari. You know how messy the drivers are with their logs. Those guys can barely read, let alone do math. Bari did not smile back. His face was grave. These are not clerical errors, Derek. I have found evidence of 147 ghost shipments. Each shipment was invoiced to a fake customer, the fuel was paid for by Archer Logistics, and the revenue was deposited into a private account linked to you. The total amount embezzled is $1,200,000. The room went silent. It was the kind of silence that hurts your ears. Andrea, Derek's wife, gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. My mother put her hand over her heart. Mia stared straight ahead, her jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscles in her neck. And my father looked at Derek with an expression I will never forget. It was not anger. It was not sadness. It was the look of a surgeon who has just realized he has to amputate his own arm. Derek's smile finally cracked. It did not just crack. It shattered into 1,000 pieces. His face went red, then white, then red again. That is a lie, he said, his voice rising. Bari, you are lying. Someone paid you off. Dad, he is lying. Someone set me up. Riley. It was Riley. She has always been jealous of me. Ever since we were kids, she wanted what I had. I stood up. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. I had practiced this moment in my mirror every night for 2 weeks. Derek, we have the bank statements. We have the fake invoices. We have the email accounts you set up under fake names. We have the credit union account in Middletown. We have Jenny Finch's testimony about the late paychecks. We have everything. Gus is outside waiting to testify. So is half the driver pool. You threatened them, Derek. You threatened their jobs, their families. You are not a victim. You are a thief. You have nothing, he shouted, slamming his fist on the table so hard that a coffee cup fell over and shattered on the floor. I am your brother, I am your blood. You would destroy me over some stupid trucking company, over some drivers who do not even matter. My father stood up then. He walked around the table slowly, deliberately. Each step echoed in the silent room. He stood face to face with his son. They were the same height, same build, same stubborn chin, but where my father's eyes held pain, Derek's eyes held fury. No, Derek, my father said quietly. You destroyed yourself. I gave you everything. A job, a title, a future, a family, and you stole from me. You stole from your mother. You stole from your sisters. You stole from drivers who have less than nothing. And now you have to face the consequences. Derek laughed, a cold, broken laugh that turned my blood to ice. Consequences? What are you going to do? Call the cops on your own son? You are too weak, old man. You have always been too weak. Mom always said you had no backbone. That is why she drinks. My mother gasped. She did not drink. She never drank. Derek was lying, even now, even at the end, he was lying to hurt. My father's face did not change. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He had already dialed the number. He pressed send and put it on speaker. Lancaster County Police Department, what is your emergency? My father looked at Derek one last time. There were tears in his eyes, but his voice did not waver. I would like to report a theft, embezzlement, $1,200,000. The suspect is my son, Derek Archer. He is sitting right in front of me. I have 300 pages of evidence and multiple witnesses. Derek's face went white. Not pale, white, like paper, like snow, like the color of a ghost, and I thought that was fitting because he had been chasing ghosts for 18 months. He lunged for the door, but Mia was faster. She had locked it from her laptop, a smart lock we had installed the night before. Derek slammed into the door, then turned around, his eyes wild. You cannot do this, Derek whispered. I am family. You were family, I said. Now you are a thief. The police officers stepped forward. They read Derek his rights. He did not fight. He did not cry. He just looked at our father with empty eyes as if he were already a ghost himself. As they handcuffed him, Andrea stood up. Her face was a mask of shock. She looked at my father, then at me, then at Mia. I did not know, she said. Her voice was barely audible. I swear to God, I did not know. We believe you, my father said, but you should take the kids and go to your mother's house. For a while, maybe for good. Andrea left without packing a bag. She just took the kids from the waiting room and drove away. I do not blame her. You cannot build a life with a man who builds his fortune on lies. You cannot raise children with a man who threatens other people's children. The trial was scheduled for 3 months later. Derek sat in jail, unable to post bail because we had frozen all his accounts. The evidence was overwhelming. But Derek hired a fancy lawyer from Richmond, a woman named Patricia Vance who had a reputation for getting criminals off the hook. Patricia argued that Derek had a gambling addiction, that the money went to pay off debts, that he was not in his right mind. She brought in a psychologist who testified that Derek had impulse control disorder. She tried to make him look like a victim, but the evidence was too strong. The fake emails, the secret bank account, the drivers who testified about the ghost loads and the threats. Gus testified. He wore his best flannel shirt and spoke clearly and honestly. Jenny Finch testified. She cried when she talked about almost losing her apartment. Barry Finch testified, holding up page after page of damning evidence. Mia testified, explaining the financial discrepancies in detail. And then it was my turn. I walked to the witness stand. I swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I looked at Derek. He was sitting at the defense table, wearing a suit that did not fit him anymore because he had lost weight in jail. His golden smile was gone. In its place was a sneer. Miss Archer, the prosecutor said, can you tell the court what your brother said to you the day before the audit results were presented? I took a deep breath. He patted me on the head and said I could make coffee for him when he took over the Virginia route. Objection, Patricia Vance said. Hearsay, overruled, the judge said. Continue, the prosecutor nodded. And how did that make you feel, Miss Archer? I looked at Derek. I looked at my brother, who had stolen from our father, who had threatened drivers, who had lied to his wife, who had spent his whole life taking and never giving. And I felt something I had never felt before. Not hate, not anger, just a deep, quiet sadness. It made me realize, I said slowly, that he never saw me as his sister. He saw me as a servant, he saw all of us as servants. And I decided right then that I would not serve a thief. The courtroom was silent. Derek's sneer disappeared. For just a moment, I saw something flash across his face. Regret? Shame? I do not know. Maybe it was just surprise that I had finally stood up to him. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. 4 hours of sitting on a hard wooden bench, holding my mother's hand, watching my father stare at the wall. 4 hours of wondering if justice would prevail or if Derek's charm had infected the jury. 4 hours of the longest silence I have ever known. Then the jury came back. The foreman, a middle-aged woman with gray hair and kind eyes, stood up. She held a piece of paper in her hands. We, the jury, find the defendant, Derek Archer, guilty on all counts of embezzlement. My mother burst into tears. My father put his arm around her. Mia squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. And Derek did not move. He just sat there, staring at the table as if he had expected this all along. The judge sentenced him to 4 years in federal prison. He also had to pay back every cent he stole, which meant selling his house, his cars, his boat, everything. The day he was taken away in an orange jumpsuit, my father stood on the courthouse steps and said nothing. He just watched the van drive away. Then he turned to me and Mia and said, "Let us go to work." But the story does not end there. Because revenge is not just about punishment. Revenge is about rebuilding. In the months that followed, our family had to heal. My father went to therapy for the first time in his life. He learned to talk about his feelings instead of burying them in work. My mother started painting again, something she had given up when Derek was born because he demanded all her attention. She painted landscapes mostly, and one painting of that old Peterbilt in the garage. She hung it in the living room. My father cried when he saw it. Mia and I ran the company together. We fired every manager Derek had hired. We created a transparent accounting system that any driver could access from their phones. We started a weekly meeting where drivers could share concerns anonymously. We even started a hotline for employees to report fraud, no questions asked, no retaliation allowed. We wanted to make sure that what Derek did could never happen again. And me, I became the new vice president of operations. Not because I wanted power, but because I wanted to make sure that no one ever hurt my family again. I learned every route, every contract, every driver's name. I slept in the office sometimes just to make sure the night shift had coffee and a kind word. The drivers called me Little Archer, but not with disrespect, with love. Because I earned it. I earned it by showing up, by listening, by fighting for them. 2 years later, my father handed me a letter. It was from Derek. Prison had not made him kind. The letter was 3 pages long, filled with blame. He said I had betrayed him. He said I was a snake. He said that one day, when he got out, he would make me pay. He said our father was a coward. He said our mother was a drunk, which was a lie. He said Mia was a cold-hearted bitch. He said I would never be happy because I had destroyed the only person who ever truly loved me. I read the letter twice. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer in my desk. I did not write back. I did not visit him. I did not hate him. Hatred is a fire that burns the person who carries it. I simply let him go, because my revenge was not his suffering. My revenge was our survival. My revenge was watching my father laugh again at a family barbecue. He was grilling hamburgers, and he burned one, and he laughed so hard he had to sit down. My mother brought him a glass of lemonade and kissed his cheek. They looked at each other the way they must have looked 40 years ago when they first fell in love. My revenge was seeing my mother hang her paintings in a local gallery. She sold 3 of them on opening night. A stranger paid $500 for a painting of a sunset over the truck depot. My mother cried happy tears. She had not cried happy tears in years. My revenge was the day we hired a new driver, a young woman named Tanya who had been abandoned by her last employer. She had 2 kids and a mountain of debt. After her first week, she came into my office and said, "I have never worked for a company that actually cares. You paid me on time. You gave me a safe truck. You asked about my kids. Thank you, that was my revenge. And it was sweeter than any prison sentence. It was sweeter than any apology Derek never gave. It was sweeter than watching him walk out of the courthouse in handcuffs. Because revenge, real revenge, is not about making the other person suffer. It is about making yourself whole. 3 years after the trial, I drove to the prison to see Derek. Not because I wanted to, because my father asked me to. He said, "Go see your brother, tell him we still love him, even if he does not believe it." So I went. The visiting room was gray and cold. Derek sat behind a glass partition. He looked older. His hair was graying. His face was thinner. The golden smile was gone, replaced by a hard line where his mouth used to curve up. I picked up the phone on my side. He picked up on his. "Riley," he said. His voice was flat. "Come to gloat?" "No," I said. "Dad asked me to come. He wants you to know that when you get out, there will be a job waiting for you. Not as vice president, not as manager, but as a driver, if you want it. You will start at the bottom, just like he did." Derek laughed. It was a hollow sound, like a rock falling down a well. "A driver, your brother, a driver." "Yes," I said, "because that is what you are now. You are not the golden boy anymore. You are just a man who made a mistake. And if you want to be part of this family again, you have to earn it, just like everyone else." He stared at me for a long time. I stared back. Neither of us blinked. "I am not sorry," he finally said. "You know that, right? I am not sorry for taking the money. I am sorry I got caught." I nodded. "I know. That is why the job offer is conditional. You have to go to therapy. You have to make restitution. You have to apologize to every driver you threatened. In person, and you have to mean it. And if I do not," I stood up, "then you are not my brother anymore. You are just a stranger who shares my last name." I hung up the phone and walked out. I did not look back. I did not cry. I drove home with the windows down and the radio on. The sun was setting, and the sky was orange and pink and beautiful. When I got home, my father was sitting on the porch. He looked at me and I looked at him. We did not need to speak. He knew. Derek was not coming back, not yet, maybe not ever. So if you take one thing from my story, let it be this. Family is not about blood. Family is about trust. And when someone breaks that trust, you do not have to break yourself trying to fix them. You can love them from a distance. You can forgive them in your heart. But you do not let them near your business. You do not let them near your peace. You lock the door, you call the police, and you build something better with the people who stayed. My name is Riley, and I am not a victim. I am the daughter who saved her father's dream. I am the sister who refused to be silent. I am the woman who learned that the most powerful word in the English language is not sorry. It is enough. When Derek gets out of prison next year, he will find a family that has moved on without him. He will find a company that is stronger, richer, and more honest than ever. He will find a father who no longer cries in the garage, and a mother who no longer makes chicken soup for sons who do not deserve it. He will find me, sitting in the corner office that could have been his, drinking coffee that tastes like justice. And maybe, just maybe, he will finally understand what he lost. Not the money, not the title, not the root. He lost the right to be called an archer. And that is a share no amount of money can ever buy back. Thank you for listening. If you have a Derek in your life, do not wait. Do not hope they will change. Do not let them drain you until you are nothing but a ghost. Gather your evidence, lock your doors, and tell your story. Because the truth, no matter how painful, will always set you free. My name is Riley, and this was my revenge.